You know, Trump is always good at kind of putting out things to see how it's going to play with the market, how it's going to play with people, how it's going to play with his side and the other side. Wait till you hear these two monster announcements he just made. Both of them actually benefit us as Americans. This comes back to America. We'll discuss what he just said, these bold statements, and I think it speaks very highly of what he's trying to do in America. We're going to discuss that. Also, we're going to talk about how we believe, and I believe, that people like Candace and Tucker, they're actually turning against Trump. Wait till you hear what Tucker just said. He basically just stated that he doesn't support the president anymore. Wait till you hear what he says, because I think what these guys do, and what a lot of these people do, they want to stay relevant in the right. So what they do is they try to say, well, we approve of what he's doing, we like Trump, he's doing great things, and then they spend the next few minutes of criticizing his plan without saying his name. We'll discuss what Tucker and Candace are doing and how they're destroying the MAGA movement, including Matt Gaetz and also Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think we're seeing a disruption that actually is going to benefit the left if we're not careful. Why do we always choke as Republicans? It just blows my mind. And then lastly, how close is our market from falling out? Jamie Dimon, again, one of the biggest heads of one of the biggest banks in America, is stating the market's fixing to fall out. How does he know? And does his statement have implications? We'll talk about what he said and what Scott Bessent is trying to do, and is our market really falling out or not? Actually, I don't think it's going to last forever. I don't know if Jamie Dimon knows the answer, but I just believe that if we don't change trajectory on how we're spending money, it could be bad. Let's dive into all these stories today, from the bank warnings to Trump's bold announcements. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. We're humbled again by your support of coming back and watching our content. Please share it with someone you know. Hopefully it will help them gain a common sense approach to the world that we live in. And again, when we comment below and you talk amongst yourself below and then I can read those comments, it helps us grow as a community to get wiser and better. And that's all that matters. So let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about Trump's bold announcements. And I actually think both of these things are absolutely huge when it comes to America first and kind of going back to the values and morals of what we believe in. Now, Trump, is good at throwing stuff out. And sometimes he throws stuff out and if it doesn't stick to the wall, he kind of pulls back. And he kind of throws things out, and if it does well, then he kind of pursues it. And then sometimes he throws things out just to troll the left and see how crazy they get. So let's talk about these and how good these announcements would be for America. But let's dive in. First, liberals are lashing out and up in arms because of this first one. But Trump has stated that he would like to see basically a monument of Jesus standing next to the White House. You know how in Brazil they have the big Jesus standing on the mountain? He's kind of saying the same thing. He would like to see a statue of Jesus right around the White House, a big one. I'm not talking about some little statuary that goes in your garden. He's talking about like Washington Monument style. Now, he's throwing it out there. Now, will it happen? I don't know. And that doesn't make us a Christian nation, but I do think that it shows and actually does credence to us as Christians to say, this is what we want. We want to form the Christian nation that we were supposed to be. So Trump throws this out, and I'm telling you, when I say liberals went nuts, they went nuts. And it's amazing how the liberals will justify, satanic things going in courthouses. They'll justify indoctrinating your children. They'll justify freedom of speech in every other facet, even to a point where Muslims were saying death to America on city steps and trying to change our flags to Palestinian flags. But then they will go up in arms for the people like us that wants, this to be a Judeo-Christian nation like it was set up, like the Puritans wanted, like the founders wanted, and ultimately putting a statue of Jesus would be huge. Now, it may just be one massive troll by the president, because it's kind of funny, but to be honest with you, this is what we want. We want to return to values. Now, have you ever heard any other Republican or Democrat or anyone in leadership say that they would be willing to have the name of Jesus placed as a big monument around Washington to say he's basically watching over what happens here? That is huge. We've had Republicans, they'll say we love God, or we pray to God. And they would never talk about the one true God, about his son Jesus and the Christian movement. And I don't know Trump's motives. I don't know Trump's heart. That's not for me to know, but I think this is a banger. I think this is a great move, and I would love to see this happen. More than that, I just would love to see the fact that he's allowing the Democrats to expose the evil amongst themselves. Because they struggle, because a lot of them, they'll call themselves Catholics or they'll call themselves religious, but then they will go against this wholeheartedly, but then support the satanic things in the capitals and, you know, the Muslim prayers in New York City. They won't talk about that though. So I think it just what he's doing. Do I believe we'll get a statue? Probably not. But what I think he's doing is he's actually showing what the Democrats stand for, and it's absolutely hatred towards Christians. You know, here's what I thought was really good, and we're going to talk about this with the Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens things, but you know, if there is somewhat peace for a season, now I don't believe there'll ever be peace in the Middle East, because I believe biblically that there will always be struggles until the time of tribulation, until the times of Antichrist, and we're not going into that today, but I do believe that we'll never see true peace. But when all of a sudden, if peace happens and Hamas lets the people go and Palestine gets their little piece back, the Gazans, and then there is peace for a season, what are all these pro-Palestinian people going to do and all the Democrats going to do? They have no war to fight against Israel anymore. So what you're going to see is they're going to use something else to get at Israel, because that shows it was never about Gazans and Palestine. It was never about giving them peace. It was truly about the hatred towards Christians and Israel. And I think this is what Trump is doing. He's just trolling the left to say, you know what, if you really support Christianity and you really support freedom of speech, you would allow us to put this big statuary up. And will I think it happens? That would be awesome. I would love to see my tax dollars go towards it. But will it happen? I don't know. I just think it's a funny troll, and I think the president is exposing the left for who they are, because they are up in arms about this. Go on Twitter and you would see the hatred towards the Christian movement. It's actually sad, but it just exposes who the Democrats are. Now, Trump makes another announcement, and this is one that would definitely stick with both sides of the aisle. Actually, 80% of individuals, I don't know why it would be not 100%, by the way, but 80% of individuals would back this. Trump wants to completely cut property taxes across the United States. He says, I want to change the way that we look at taxing Americans, especially when it comes to wanting them to buy a home. He said, and then all of a sudden taxing them for the rest of their lives. He said, if the government wants to buy the homes, the government should buy the homes. But if we're allowing the people to buy the homes, why are we taxing it to a point where we become owners of this and they just rent from us forever? So I love what he's doing. He's embracing what Florida's been talking about. He's embracing what other states have been talking about, how property tax is it's completely unconstitutional. There's no reason in a property tax, especially when people buy the home, pay the tax on the front end, be done with it. There should be no other property tax for good. Not even if you're still paying for it. Not if you have a mortgage on it. There should be no property tax. So I think the first, putting the Christian statuary up would be amazing, but I think that was more of a troll to realize who the left is, this demonic evil spirit that's on the left. I think this one here, though, is the one that could stick. Here's the thing, though. You're going to now expose Congress for who they really are. Because what this is Trump knows that Congress spends way too much money. Trump knows states spend way too much money. Trump knows that our government is too big. And if you cut property tax, which should be done, it is wrong that we're taking property tax as a government from the Americans like myself. Like I told you, between all my property, and I'm not this Ponderosa owning person, but I own a business and I own a home and own a farm, and guess what? I'm taxed $35,000 a year. That's not income tax. That's strictly property tax. It is absolute theft. I get mad about it, to be honest with you. You start seeing me turn red here because I get so flustered by it. So these two announcements are absolutely huge. And you know what America wants? America wants this. America wants a return of traditional values. America wants to leave our children alone, have school for school and not for indoctrination camps, and make sure the colleges are actually teaching what they were supposed to be teaching. What's amazing is our Ivy League institutions were set up to teach doctrine and theology on Christianity and the spread of the gospel. We changed that in the early 19th century, I think, but what I'm saying is we have gotten it all wrong. So the turn back to faith would be amazing. We need revival and reawakening. I would literally say, okay, the Jesus statue, we need to devote and actually put a seat that says change my mind right next to it and prove me wrong, and have Charlie Kirk's bronze memorial sitting right beside it. Because that could start a revival and reawakening in America. That's what we need. And the property tax, who wants to pay property tax? Would you rather say, okay, I would rather see you do less as a government. And to be honest with you, we've been in a shutdown for what, 5 days? And do you realize if we let the tariffs keep rolling like they could actually pay for the military furloughs. They could pay for the military. They could pay for the necessities, and we could cut a lot of this other fluff out of government that we're spending money on. If you wonder why scammers are always getting your phone number, why you have so much spam in your inbox, well, this is why. Your data has been compromised, meaning there's data brokers out there, and what they're doing is getting your information and turn around and selling it to maybe some salespeople, but maybe some bad players. The crazy thing is they do it without your consent. They give all your information to all these places, and it makes you vulnerable. And you know what? You actually can call hundreds of companies, thousands of companies, and tell them you don't want your information shared on the World Wide Web. But guess what? It's kind of hard and time consuming. That's why today's sponsor, Aura, is the game changer for you and your safety with your data online. Everything that we do is online now, so the last thing I want to do is try to go and find out who's got my information that shouldn't have it. That's why we recommend Aura. Aura does all the hard part. Aura goes in and they start taking your information automatically off and taking it away from some of the more compromised places, the vulnerable places. I kid you not. My inbox, my phone has been completely cleaned up, and I don't have to worry about all these crazy calls and all these insurance salesmen and all these apps tracking me all the time. Because Aura is there to help. Aura also is so much more. Aura is all-in-one digital security. They do 5 things extremely well. They send you alerts if all of a sudden they find your personal information on the dark web. Real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking apps. And also if your information has been compromised. 24/7 monitoring. This is the biggest. Because I promise you, the people that are probably stealing your information, they're probably not doing it during the day era. What if it's through the night? 24/7 monitoring from Aura. A secure VPN, antivirus and password manager, and so much more. A US-based support. Available around the clock. So if something goes wrong, you can reach out to them and they're right there to help you. Aura includes $5 million in identity theft insurance. At night when I lock my doors before we go to bed, I don't want to lock just the front and leave the back open. Aura is all in one, so that way it's protecting you all online. If I sleep at night and I physically protect my home, what about making sure that I'm digitally protecting my information? Check with Aura today, aura.com/themacs. Get 14 days free by using that link. You want a peace of mind when you sleep? Aura can give you that. Aura.com/themacs. Check them out. There was a lady the other day that reached out to me. She's like, I cannot believe you're for this government shutdown. I mean, it shuts down the national parks. Well, we can't go in there. I mean, they have to close them because people can't cut the grass. Well, to be honest with you, if it comes down to spending and we need to cut money and we need to save money, we should not be paying for anything for illegal immigrants. And to be honest with you, if we're talking about cutting grass or paying our military, I think we should just pay our military and just forget about the grass cutting in the national parks. Now, it's kind of like this. I have a home, I have cars. I don't have to have 3 or 4 cars. I could sell a few. If I got in tough times, I probably shouldn't have all the stuff I had. You get what I'm saying? We're in a nation where we can't afford our lifestyle. I don't even understand why we're giving money to Argentina. Like we did a bill the other day where we're going to give like $20 billion to Argentina for something. And we're probably buying something, but do we really need to be buying anything right now? Really, we should just be focused on building up America's economy. But I digress. This goes back to the property tax situation where if we keep spending like this, they're going to keep taking your money. Did you know that there was a time when we had no income tax, no property tax? It was the biggest and best time in our history. But after the World War I, basically we started saying, okay, well, we've got to tax them a little bit. We've got to tax this a little bit for when war comes or when we need infrastructure fixed. And then we'll let the tax go. And still to this point, we've been overtaxed. And then on top of that, we're even taxed more because we started doing all these social programs that we couldn't afford. And now the Democrats are holding the shutdown down, actually holding the government hostage and doing the shutdown and holding the jobs where the military can't get paid, all because they want to give illegal immigrants Medicare. That's what they're holding up for. And we have no money to pay for the things we got, and now we're wanting to spend another $1.5 trillion in this bill just to simply give it to illegal immigrants? It's a joke. Trump's bold announcement, Christian monument, absolutely. Probably won't happen. But it's a good troll. Shows the evil of the Democrats. But the biggest one is the fact that we actually could cut property tax, but the Congress would be exposed because they can't stop spending. The more they spend, the more money they make. if we really want to change anything, we got to change it this way. Now let's go to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. This is the problem with the right here. We can't seem to ever win. We choke at the very end when we could actually be doing good things right now, doing things like the property tax things, doing things like the Christian movement, doing things like cutting the government spending. We have infighting. I want you to listen how Tucker Carlson is pretty much turning his face towards really against Trump. And let's just listen to what he said. Tucker reacts to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel concluding about the Epstein situation. You know, I don't know what to make of it. Basically, I'm shocked by them. Now, here's the thing. Do I believe that Dan and Kash know more than they're probably telling us? Probably so. Do I believe that the things like the Charlie Kirk saga and Epstein, you believe that there's a lot of government corruption in those things? Absolutely. But what we're seeing now is the people that we're putting in charge is not telling us for some reason. Now, that doesn't make it wrong or right, but what I'm saying is this. Tucker now, if you notice, just listen to his podcast. I like Tucker. I actually listened to Tucker for years upon years. I've listened to Candace for years upon years. But if you listen to Tucker now, everything that he does, he tends to say, well, Trump is doing good. Trump's doing this. Trump's going to do this. We elected him because of this. And then all of a sudden, then he spins it and then say Trump's name, but he says this government is doing wrong. This administration's doing wrong. So basically, he's like knifing Trump behind his back. Tucker came out and said, our country is suffering. That's why we elected Donald Trump. We voted for him. And then he goes on in the story and says, well, at the same time, we're seeing our administration fail us. They're putting all these other countries first. Are they really? Are they really? I mean, are they truly putting other countries first? Now, should we be giving any money to any person? Like I just told you with Argentina, with Israel, with Ukraine, with all of them. Should we be giving any money to anyone? No, I agree there. But to then come back and say we are fully undermining this government because they've not done anything for the American people, I think that is absolutely a talking point of the left. There was a guy who is a Democratic operative who goes on CNN all the time, and he said, it's amazing how much I'm sharing Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and Candace Owens. He says, I'm retweeting them. He said, and it's helping our cause on the left. See, that's what we don't understand. When MTG and Matt Gaetz and all these people go out there and they basically disregard of what Trump is doing, and what they'll do is this: they will never say Trump is doing wrong. They'll say, well, we voted for Trump and we voted for America First, and wants the MAGA base to really rise up behind them, but then they'll undermine everything that the Trump administration is doing. See, that's how it works when you have someone knifing you in the back and backstabbing you. That's how politics works. See, Matt Gaetz is mad, of course, because he left his congressman position to get into the administration, to realize that he's probably got something on him that he can't because it would expose, and I think he's mad at Trump for that. Now, they try to smooge it over, but I think that's what he is. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to be a confidant of Trump, and I think it's not working, so therefore now she is coming against him on the Israel thing. And if all of a sudden we quote-unquote have peace for some situation, people like Tucker and MTG and Matt Gaetz, are they going to come back and say, Trump, you did a phenomenal job? Or are they going to just keep blaspheming his administration for loving on Israel too much? See, here's the thing. What we're seeing is the exposure of the bad players in the right. What I've learned is this, and if you listen very closely, it's so simple. If someone has a Christian-leaning thought pattern and they're Republicans, they're going to support the Christian movement. You're not going to hear a lot of cursing. You're going to see them support Israel. When you see the people that's come into and kind of grafted into the Republican Party, and all they do is rip and rail, curse, and blaspheme Trump, they tend to be people against Israel. Like Candace Owens. I mean, she's everything that she said is pretty much against this tragedy with Charlie Kirk. Instead of saying, well, Trump and them got the people, or let's give Trump the chance to see if this is the guy that did it. Let's take him to court so Charlie's death won't be in vain. Instead, all she's done lately is just absolutely demean everything about the Trump administration and about their relationship with Israel. So when we see that quote-unquote peace happens and Palestine is given the hostages back, typically you would see everybody applauding Trump for what he's done. I've yet to see that from Tucker. I've yet to see that from Candace. I've yet to see that from Matt Gaetz. And I've yet to see that from Marjorie Taylor Greene. What I've realized is people like Tucker and Candace, they want to stay relevant, and so they're wanting to get the clicks. And I know if you like them, I actually like them. I think Tucker is probably one of the most common sense, reasonable people when it comes to a lot of things conservatism. But then I think he's kind of lost on some things, and then what he's done is he's got right into this grafted anti-Israel propaganda, and it's basically put him against the president. Now he's undermining the president on several things. Again, if you don't believe me, just go look at his ties to his partner. Go look at his ties to his partner, who once supported Charlie Kirk, but also had been tied to some people in Qatar, had been tied to, again, he's a Muslim American that is Tucker's partner. Is that not a little shady? Is it not? And like Candace, she's becoming friends with people like, Andrew Tate and Kanye. Do we really want to associate them as Christian Republicans who is leading the charge on America first? They really are all over the place when it comes to their politics. Do we really think that they're the ones who is smart and wise? Do we believe that is the new right wing? Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, a huge confidant of Trump, and now all of a sudden, all she wants to do is go on CNN and get relevant on this side. That's why they're abusing that. CNN has put her on like 3 or 4 times because all she does now is talk about, well, we wanted America first and we didn't really get that. We voted for Trump and Trump's wanting that, but he's been infiltrated. You see how they're literally destroying the movement on the right. Trump should absolutely push away from these people. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, push away from them. Tucker's son works in the administration, if I'm not mistaken. Either Trump needs to meet with these people and just say, shut up, talk about the good things of America, but instead of talking about the good things Trump has done, all they've done is defame him. Is that really what we want in Republican leadership? What I've learned is this: Candace didn't support anybody. Candace is not supporting anybody. It's like Nick Fuentes. They're not supporting anybody. All they want to do is talk bad about everybody. So what they're basically saying is, I have all the right answers. You might as well make me president because I'm the most wisest, best person. Oh yeah, I'm a little humble too. That's kind of what they're saying. Like, it's unbelievable to me. In our own mind, we think we're the wisest, most common sense thought pattern person, that we have all the answers. And I'm sorry guys, that's not true. We have to gain wisdom by the people around us. And what I've learned is Candace, Tucker, and all of them, they actually think they're right on everything. And when they think they're right on everything, what they're doing is they're putting themselves on a pedestal and destroying the movement that's happening all around them. That could be phenomenal for the Republicans. What they should be doing is cheerleading this administration. Instead, they're knifing them in the back. Last point I want to bring up real quick is Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon came out and stated that within 6 to 12 to 24 months, a major market correction. And that's true. I believe that too. Not because what Jamie Dimon said, but because our Congress is spending like crazy. Now, Trump is trying to balance that out. And just like, for instance, the shutdown, if they negotiate the shutdown, what's going to actually happen is you're going to see more funding for illegal immigrants. That's all the Democrats want. What Trump should do, and Scott Bessent should do, find other ways to make money, to pay for the things that we need, and then let go of the stuff that we don't. Massive layoffs, massive furloughs for agencies that do not matter. That is just a bunch of fluff anyway. The NGOs that we're funding, let it go. But see, here's the thing. Congress has to be the ones to do that. It's not just the Trump administration. So what Jamie Dimon is coming before Congress saying, look, we're going to have a major correction. Well, probably so. But it's not because the market's not doing good. It's not because Trump is not doing good. He wants to push this off on Trump. What this actually is, the problem is not tariffs. That's actually making money. The problem is your Congress is spending way too much money. And right now they're fighting to give more money away. It's pointless. So you know how we fix this government shutdown? Like what you're seeing with Russ Vought and what he's doing with IMB and what his goal was for Project 2025 is a good thing. It's cutting the government. He's doing that right now because the shutdowns are going on. Now here's something else. We could actually change and actually pull property tax back and start funding only the things that matter. If we did that and used tariffs to fund the military, if we did that and started cutting some of these programs, and we did that and we started realizing these congressmen are absolutely working against the American people, if we started realizing that, the market would never fall out. But truth be told, it probably will fall out. We probably will have a destroying of the dollar. We probably still will have major corrections and problems over the next 2 years because all we want to do is always kick the can down the road and spend way too much money. That's not a Trump problem. That's actually a Congress problem. When it all comes down to it, at the end of this video, here's the answers. Trump did good things this week. You may not agree with everything dealing with Israel, but he made a peace agreement take place. If we get the 20 hostages back that are American, and then several that are hostages from Israel, and they're already saying, there was reports that Gazans were holding up American flags in honor of Trump, praising him. Now, you're not going to hear that on mainstream media, and you're definitely not going to hear that from people like Tucker Carlson. But if all of a sudden Israel pulls back, all of a sudden there's peace for a season, all of a sudden Trump starts bringing in more money, and he holds down the shutdown to where you're not feeling the major pressure, but at the same time, all this fluff in government's not getting spent. These are wins, and we should be applauding that, not tearing it down. But again, Republicans are so good at tearing ourselves down and beating ourselves instead of actually winning. Trump is actually winning. Now we just need the Republicans to realize and stop trying to work against him and actually work with him. That's the key. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.